Jason Baffrey, we are live, sir. You better fluff up that hair.
I'll do what I can. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Coach Talk TV, where we believe that coaching and coaches are an essential part of human development. You'll learn how having a guide in your own personal development can change your life, improve your relationships, and enhance your work experience. I'm Jason Baffrey. This is Rhonda Boyle. We do not know the Tiger King, but you are watching Coach Talk TV, where we have coaching conversations that matter.
That's right. We do not know the Tiger King, although we are both living here in Oklahoma.
Right.
In case you would like to know where we're from.
We are
from Tiger King territory.
Never met Joe Exotic.
Where is that thing anyway? I don't even know. I have not seen, I'm the only person on the planet probably who has not seen Tiger King.
Down south.
It's south of us?
Down south. Yeah, way down south.
Well, that can't be more than an hour or two.
Right, but it's far enough away. I mean, it's a whole other life down there. Yes. At least in that little section was.
Oh, that is hilarious. Well, welcome everybody to Coach Talk TV. We are pumped to get started because we have the amazing career coach, Jennifer Vancil, here with us today. Can't wait to introduce you to her. She's got some amazing tips and tricks for any of you who may be looking for another job.
Yeah, it'll be good.
It'll be good.
And I'm sure there's probably a few people out there that are looking for another job.
Jason, interesting that you should say that because I just looked up the numbers and this is as of, what is today?
It's April 17th.
So this is yesterday, as of yesterday, 22 million people and unemployment rate is likely nearing 18%. So, and the grand boy is walking in the middle of the show.
Right on.
Okay, cool. I knew that would happen.
Live streaming.
So if any of you would like to know what it's like to be interrupted during a live stream, you just come on over and hang out with us on Coach Talk TV. How fun. Anyway.
So, it's so interesting that, we went from like the best unemployment numbers that we've ever seen to now this. And what did you say? 22 million people that are
22 million people who were gainfully employed 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's just amazing the transition that's happened in the country and around the world. And if you've seen any of our shows over the past 2 weeks as we've done this Discover Coaching series, we've really had a lot of great information from a variety of different coaches that can help you through this time. So I want to encourage everyone, not just for our own benefit, because we want eyeballs on our show on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, but also because there's some really good information, especially right now. And if you're in a place of transition, if you've been furloughed, or if you're just looking for a career change, we've talked about all of those things. And we've had some really good information and a lot of different approaches to what's going on. And so I think you can really learn a lot by going back and watching these shows. And, I'm looking forward to hearing what our guest today, Jennifer Vancil, has to say, because this is kind of her specialty also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I think if I look at, if we talk about the numbers, that's pretty serious to have that many people suddenly out of work. And I think some of those jobs are going to go away, anybody figured out we got a big old reset going on in our world today. So I think some of you already know maybe that you need to be getting on the stick and starting to look. And so we want to encourage you to reach out to a coach because there's no one better to help you through that process, than a coach. I
can't imagine being in the food service industry or the hospitality industry right now, being a server or a bartender or anything in that realm where, you thrived on those tips and being in those places and you haven't been able to work. A lot of people are out of work, but I specifically think of all of those people because every time I want to go out to eat and then can't, I'm like, gosh, there's a lot of people that aren't working now because of this, just in that one specific industry. And that gets into cooks and the whole thing. A lot of places are doing drive-through, but obviously higher, certainly like the upper class restaurants, the really upper class restaurants, but even places like your typical walk in and sit down family restaurant, those types of places. Some of those have transitioned to where they're still trying to do to-go orders and things like that. But I mean, you don't need the wait staff that you would typically have, and you certainly don't need the bartenders that you would have had otherwise.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that are really looking at things with a serious eye right now.
Yeah. So I think that, really having Jennifer on is quite timely. So let's get to it and let us introduce you to her. Coming into us from Colorado, Jennifer Vancil is a career coach and Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach with over 20 years experience in higher education. Her mission is to support, encourage, and inspire people to live more meaningful lives and create strengths-based careers. And she specializes in strengths-based career coaching for early career and mid-career professionals. Jennifer, come on up and say hey to the people.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, great to see you. Sorry, we're having a little lag there. And so how is Colorado treating you today? I guess you're quarantined like the rest of us.
Absolutely working from home like everybody else. And we had a foot of snow this week, so that just makes it easier to stay in. But I'm sure it's a temporary situation. When the snow came down, I thought, this is kind of like what's happening in the world right now. There are short-term situations that are affecting us, and short-term, we just need to survive. We need to make the hot chocolate. We need to stay inside, eat the food we have, as far as the snow goes here in Colorado in April. But I know that the sun is out, it's going to melt, and it's in some period of time that snow will be gone. And it was just a really interesting reminder to what's going on in the world. There are some things, you're talking about the restaurants, right? Restaurants will reopen. Now, will every restaurant reopen? Will every restaurant reopen to the level it was? Will some not make it? I think that's a very real concern. But restaurants in general will reopen. The entire hospitality industry will not be out of work forever. There's a temporary situation. Now there's going to be long-term impact, and certainly economists can tell us more about that. But I was thinking about the snow and thinking, when it snows in the middle of April, it just, kind of knocks you down. Like, wait a minute, I was going on walks every day. The dogs were really happy, But what I really thought about was, okay, that's temporary. I need to survive. And then when it melts, what do things look like? And, I guess this is a metaphor that works, because when it melts, I'm going to have some yard work to do. And I need to prepare, and I need to rake up the leaves that I didn't get to last fall. And I need to clean up the yard, and I need to weed the flower beds, and I need to, cut the bushes from last year to get ready for the flowers that are going to bloom. So when I think about people's careers, and I think right now in this pandemic time, we're thinking about short-term survival, but we're also thinking about there is a midterm for most of us. For some people, survival is what we're going to do until the world opens back up. Many of us are in that. There are some folks, though, that are able to survive short-term and move into a time of more planning and preparation for what's coming next. And that's what I get really excited about talking to people about. What does that look like? Because if you can think about what you want the garden to look like, I guess I got stuck on the snow and garden metaphor, but if you think about what you want the garden to look like, what are you going to plant? What's going to come up? What kind of seeds do you want to sow so that you've got something that grows that you want to grow? So thinking about what that long-term thriving looks like will help you know what to do with this midterm.
Yeah.
I love that. What kind of seeds are you planting right now, Jason?
So in saying that, there may be a lot of people out there that perhaps haven't become familiar with the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which is the assessment that you utilize. But tell us a little bit about how they could be using this time to learn about that, learn about their strengths, and then utilize that working with a coach like yourself in their new, whether it's a new career path or even finding a new job in the same industry.
Sure. Well, I have a belief that if you can create a career based on your strengths, you're going to be happier, you're going to be more satisfied, you're going to do better at it, and it's going to be easier to get hired. So obviously all of these things are really important right now, whether you're just job searching or whether you actually have some time to do a career shift or a career change, or some of you have actually been forced into a career change or an industry change. So if you're working with me or someone else who's a strengths-based career coach, the very first thing I have people do is take the Clifton Strengths Assessment that comes from the Gallup company. You can actually take it online at gallup.com/Clifton Strengths, and you can get results right away. Just taking that assessment will give you some ideas about who you are and kind of how you're wired. Now, the way we use that in career coaching is when I have someone take that, I really ask them to reflect on how are they using their strengths in their current job or in their most recent job. What strengths are they not using that they wish they could use or that they plan to use next time? And what kind of shift are they really looking at? What kind of role would be ideal? And so I like to break down career coaching into 3 different conversations. So I tell people we're going to have 3 conversations, then we'll have a 4th one where we put it together. But the first conversation is really, who are you? What are your strengths? What are your skills? What's your background? What do you get excited about? What are you passionate about? Is an interesting thing. There's a new book out called Designing Your Life, and the authors of that book say actually passionate about is the wrong question. We should ask, what are you curious about? And I love that. I have adopted that into my coaching. So what are you curious about? Who are you? How are you wired? Thinking about what kind of role might fit you. Then separately thinking about what are you interested in or what industries of interest are there. Some of you were interested in the industry you were in. And so not being able to work in that industry is actually really, really frustrating. So sometimes we're having a conversation about where can you pivot to an industry that's doing better right now or will be doing better in the long term. There are industries that are thriving right now. There are industries that are thriving this month that weren't thriving last month. So there is a lot of shifting. And if we even think back to 2008, 9, 10, a lot of companies started in that recession because there was some pivoting going on. And then the third conversation that we need to have is, what are your values? What are the values that are driving your change? Is it a short-term need for survival? Is it your industry went away? Is it an economic shift? Or is it simply, it could be a layoff, but it could also be a choice. There are still people who are choosing to pivot. Now, I will say this week, there's more people who had that choice forced upon them. A month ago, that looked a little different. It was more people choosing to pivot and having a lot of choice. Now we're seeing a lot more people who have that forced on them. But however it is you got there, we can still have 3 conversations. Who are you? What's unique and valuable about you? What kind of industries of interest or industries you could pivot to, or industries of opportunity or companies of opportunity could we look at? And then what are the values that are driving those decisions?
Wow. I'm taking notes right here copiously. What are the values that are driving those decisions? I don't think people really think about that, and here's a point. We don't make good decisions when we're stressed. And guess what we are right now? Stressed out of our minds, a lot of us. And so learning, right now you may be driven by fear or anxiety or stress or a desperation. And so really stopping for a minute is going to be to your advantage if you can. Wouldn't you say, Jennifer?
Yeah, for sure. I'm asking people a lot right now, what do you need? And some people need, they need groceries tomorrow. So there are folks that I'm having a conversation of, I know you've never been to a food bank before, but here's how you access that. Or do you realize that you might qualify for unemployment? Or you're self-employed, it looks like there may be some new funding for you. So how can you reach out to your Small Business Administration for some support around what kind of funding works for you, or to your local bank? So there certainly are short-term conversations. When I can have somebody know that they're okay, that they have some survival plan, then we can have a conversation about what thriving looks like, so that we can scale back to what does this midterm planning look like so that we can get to thriving. But I totally agree with you, Rhonda. If you are in the panic mode and if you are in fear, It's not a good time to think pie in the sky. What kind of job I had? You need to say, I need dinner tonight. And so I certainly recognize and honor that a lot of folks are there. Now, I do see a lot of people being able to take a breath and move past that. So when I had someone this week who contacted me, who was laid off in the oil industry, which is not doing well right now. And he kind of knew that it was coming, but it's still getting that layoff notice was a shock. And so there was the initial, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a severance? Do I have a few weeks of pay? Do I qualify for unemployment? Once we get through that, okay, actually, I can eat. I can pay the mortgage, or I applied to have the mortgage,
deferred or something.
Deferred, right? So once you get through that, then we can say, okay, if you can arrive in a midterm place where there is some space where we don't know what's coming, but we can look at what is possible, then we can talk about what kind of seeds we want to plant. So we have to get past that short-term fear, that short-term panic. It's not a great conversation. I realize you might not have food for dinner tonight, but what do you wish you could do with your life? It's not a good time for that conversation.
No, you can't get people into that dream and vision mode, which is what it will take for you to really get a job that you love, a career that lights you up. Yeah, you got to take care of business first.
Yeah. And, when we talk about thriving, it's not all, I'm going to be a movie star. It's certainly dreaming, but it's what are the values that are driving your decisions. So if you have an industry that you've always been interested in, and even if it is something big like the entertainment industry or the sports industry or medical, there are lots of different roles and lots of different ways to exist in those industries. So if we can separate out the industry of interest or certain kind of companies from the role that you would play, then we can have a different conversation. But I like to get to what the value is. So sometimes somebody will say, well, I really want to do this career because it pays well. And it's really important to have a conversation with them. What kind of salary target do you have? And what does pays well look like for you? Right. I was working with someone who was very interested in going into a medical field because it paid well. And when I actually got to the heart of the matter, the salary target that she had was a salary target that is very realistic in many, many, many industries. And it was not the only way to get to that salary target. And it actually turned out that the interest in medicine was not as strong. It was just that it felt like a direct path to reach the value of where she wanted to be financially. Once we got to that, then we could say, well, what else would reach that target? So it's not all pie in the sky dreaming. It's also about what are the values and what's at the heart of that. So this person actually chose another industry that is actually thriving right now and ended up going into supply chain management. What a time in history to be choosing that. Right. Incredible opportunities. And she's going to have multiple job offers and is already working in an incredible internship. So sometimes just letting go of there's only one path is what allows us to see other possibilities.
Do you find, are your clients in a typical age range? I mean, when you're talking about the people like that, are they younger and still trying to climb the ladder and find the job to reach their financial goal? Or are you finding people that are in their 40s, 50s that are just needing a change in career and they're looking at an entirely new industry? Can you skew that either way?
Sure. So I actually work with both populations. I work with college students. I work with graduate students, which are often mid-career, and then I work with professionals in career transition. So yeah, I'm going to throw out an age range from 18 to 75. Yeah. I don't do a lot of work around the retirement transition. Right. So certainly, probably most of my clients are between the ages of like 22, getting out of college or in college, up to mid 50s is probably pretty typical. But the principles are the same. Knowing who you are is really important, and how you're wired, and then looking at industries and then looking at values. So let me give you an example. A lot of people, when they need to make a change, will reach out and say, I need a resume. And really what they're saying is, I need a different life. And I think that the resume is the way to get there.
Right.
And we'll probably get to resume, but I have a lot of questions when someone asks me to help them with the resume. I want to say, well, who are you and what are you best at and what are your strengths and where do you really thrive? And most people don't know. And who are we sending it to? And how do we reach them? And do we even know that that's a person you want to reach? And is the resume the best way to reach them? And what are we trying to position you as? What level? What kind of job? Do we know what's required for that job? What kind of skills are they even looking for in that job? And do you have them? So there's a lot to unpack when you're looking at a transition. Most people think, I need a resume, that'll solve it. And it's actually a bigger discussion. Other times people say, well, I'm just going to hit the job boards. And it's so common. And please feel free to look. I tend to get people reaching out to me after they've been on job boards for 3 months. 3 months seems to be like the breaking point, I think. 3 months of applying, 100 or more applications. They're convinced the resume isn't working. I mean, obviously it's not, but that whole online job process is really a broken process in so many ways. So I tend to get people 3 months after they're totally discouraged and they feel demoralized, they feel rejected, and they feel like there isn't any hope. So what I like to do is break it down. So I'll give you an example. So if I said, well, let's see, you want a job. How about marketing director at First Bank in Denver? And they might say, well, I don't think that's a job for me. And I might say, why? Well, if you look at the why on that, it's because that one job is actually a role, an industry, and some values. So the role is marketing, but it's not just marketing, it's marketing director. So is director the right level? Is marketing the right kind of role? Is the kind of marketing that they do there the kind of marketing that you want to do? And are you even qualified for that? That's the role. Then we think about industry. Is banking the right industry for you? Is this kind of bank the right company for you? You think about values. That job has a certain salary that may or may not meet your needs. It has a location in Denver that may or may not meet your needs. And it's a salaried kind of position. You might want more of a commission type position, or you might want to travel, or you might want to have, some different kind of purpose in your job. So looking at job postings is way too complicated because people are saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, trying to make, everybody tells me they're going to do a general resume. And I said, oh, please don't do a general resume. You won't get anything with a general resume. I'm generally qualified for many, many roles in many, many industries with a rotating set of values. It's not going to work. No one's going to call you. So I like to unravel it, have those 3 conversations, and start with their strengths and break it down.
Yes, I think that what happens is they walk into, they're submitting for the position, and they are in a more powerful mindset once you finally get there. The energy is different around it, like even in the interview,
So much. I was working with a client recently who was in a job that literally, I think probably when she shifts, she'll probably triple her salary. She was well underpaid, very overqualified for the work that she was doing. And so one of the things that she had to do was to develop a sense that her skills were valuable and that her strengths were valuable and that her strengths were unique. And so where she first started was, I think I'm lucky to hold on to this job. And when I talked to her recently, she said, you know what, now that I have my sense of my strengths, I can talk about my strengths, I know how to tell my stories, I understand what I'm good at, and I realize all the skills I have, and I've got them all in LinkedIn, and she's a marketing person, so she worked on her portfolio, and we talked about what does she want to convey, and she did some research about her industry and what kind of jobs is she qualified for, and she realized she's qualified for very high level jobs. And she started telling me, you know what, actually, these salary ranges and these kind of companies, and I'm going to apply for this one internationally because everybody's working from home. What does it matter? Her confidence just skyrocketed. So knowing who you are and kind of working through the process of knowing that your strengths and your skills are valuable in multiple places is such a better place to job search from. And I found that she was actually being picky about what she applied for. And because she was applying for fewer jobs, she was able to also take the time to network with people in the company and make some connections with alumni or contacts on her companies of interest. You can't do that if your target is 200 companies and you're throwing resumes online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking before the show about resume and how isn't it interesting? Everybody wants a resume. That's the first thing that's what they believe is their starting point. Well, once you get your resume pulled together, you don't want it just flying out to the wind. There are better ways than just having it show up in somebody's file, because that's exactly where it goes. Like, how many people normally, well, I don't guess you can quantify how many people are going for jobs these days. It would depend on which ones.
Well, you need to be thinking about hundreds, right? So, I mean, jobs will have anywhere, it depends on where, but from 100 to 1,000 applications. So it's really important to think about how people actually hire. So think about the companies that you've been in, or even sometimes I say, even just think about when you've hired people. And because I work sometimes with early or mid-career folks, sometimes people will say, well, I've never hired anyone. I said, well, sure you did. How did you get your dentist? Well,
yeah,
they were referred to me. Oh, it was by referral. And you trusted that referral, right? So if you think about that, I mean, we hire based on referrals too. Or I'll say, how did you hire someone to fix your car? And they said, well, I searched online for brake repair. And I said, oh, so when you searched online, they were findable. Are you findable? How's your LinkedIn profile? Does your LinkedIn profile have the skills that you want to be found under? Most people's doesn't. Someone will say, well, I want to be a financial analyst. I said, great, let me just search financial analyst. We're connected, so let me just see if you come up. No, you don't come up, but these other 200 people come up. What do they have that you don't? Oh, they have skills in financial analyst. Do you realize that word is not on your profile anywhere? So it's interesting to think about, even how you hire someone to fix your car is because they're findable online. So we can go back to your own job search. Are you findable online? And are you findable under the things that you want to be found for? And are you findable under the things you want to be known for? If somebody looks for you, will they find you? And when they call you, are you able to articulate what you're bringing to the situation? So,
yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Which is why it should be a thoughtful process. And
job searching is hard. I mean, it's hard, and I think it's because we want it to be different than it is. I've been thinking about lately that I think when we go to school, I work with a lot of people who are coming out of education or who are educated people. Maybe a lot of folks I work with maybe even have an MBA or they're mid-career, and so they've been working for 10 or 20 years, but they have some education, or at least they have some great experience that they can leverage. But back in school, when you wanted to learn something new or take a class, you would just look at the list and you would sign up. So I've been thinking about the fact that job searching is not like signing up for a class, but we really want it to be. I mean, if you think about it, I want to go to the financial analyst section in the catalog, and I want to look at all the financial analyst jobs, and I want to pick the location and the professor or the boss and the pay, right? I want to know exactly where it is, what are the hours, what's the office location like, what is the pay, what's the vacation policy. I really would like to see that in a list in a catalog so that I could pick the one I wanted. And I want there to be 50 spots and I just need one. I mean, that's how signing up for a class is when you're in college or high school, right? And we really want job search to be that way. And it's funny when I explain that to people, they really say, oh, you're right. I really do think it's that way. And I said, yeah, but instead of 50 slots and you're taking one, there's one slot and there's 500 people trying to get it. And you don't actually know all of those details. You don't know exactly who's hiring, and you may not be able to talk to them, and you may or may not know the exact location. You don't have all the information. So what I've been explaining to people is that job searching is really a lot more like making a friend. Well, making a friend is nothing like signing up for a class. So that just sounds crazy. But if you think about the process of making a friend, you meet them somewhere. You have some kind of connection over a shared interest. And then somebody follows up and says, hey, I'd like to chat, or I'd like to talk with you again, or there's a phone call or an invitation. And maybe first it's a short phone call, or I'll see you next week. And then it turns into a longer phone call. And then you make more of a plan to get together. And then you actually are developing a relationship. And at some point, you become friends. And that's a person you can ask a favor of. That's a person you can ask a recommendation of. That's a person who actually is going to say, wow, my friend is amazing. Now, I'm not just saying you hire your friends. It's not what I'm trying to convey. I'm just saying
there's lots of that.
There is a lot of that. Absolutely. And most people say, they don't like that, but the who you know is really important. Now, the thing that's important about that, though, is you can get to know new people. I mean, Rhonda, I think you and I have met online and never in person, and we've known each other for more than a year. And
I think it's been a couple of years.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that started probably with a post online that I commented on, and then somehow we connected, and then we had meetings, and then we had more meetings, and then we collaborated on some things. So you can develop professional relationships just like you can develop friendships, and professional relationships lead to opportunities. There was no like, go online and sign up for the slot on the Coach Talk TV. It came out of a relationship, and most job opportunities do as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like, hey, Jennifer, what you doing?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because not that I get a lot of people asking me for career advice, but when I have given that, I mean, one of the most important things that I learned in college, which was worth the entire time for being there, was it's not what you know, it's who you know. And networking is important. And every great job that I've had, if not almost every job, has come through relationship. And I feel like I'm qualified, I have the skills and all of that, but I got some, my great jobs that I've had throughout my career have come because I knew somebody and I had developed a relationship, and they recommended me when an opening happened. And so that's really, really important. And not to undermine, I mean, you still need to do all of the other things and put in the hard work and know your strengths and do all of that. But just to echo what you're saying, Jennifer, I think that's extremely valuable.
Well, it's really important that we even network based on our strengths. So if you think about, I have communication, woo, positivity, and relator. I mean, I think LinkedIn is magic. I love that. So for me to comment online and develop relationships with people that I haven't met in person, that comes naturally to me. That's a good strategy for me. But if I'm working with someone who's an engineer, highly analytical, really research oriented, very intellectual, then go on LinkedIn and start commenting on random people's posts is not going to be the strategy. So as a strengths-based career coach, I like to know someone's strengths so that I can help them job search even within their strengths. So somebody who loves to do research needs to research career fields. And what I can do to help them network is to say, I want you to think about a research question that you're genuinely curious about. There's a great book by my colleague Daryl Gurney called Never Apply for a Job Again. And he says networking is about your research question. So I love that. So if somebody's high in input, intellection, all these Clifton Strengths words, I can say, okay, this is about research. And you do enough research, maybe online or through books or through magazines or however you read your information, to have a valuable question. And then you research who are the players in the field that you could ask this question to, and who do you know that knows them? How do you reach them for the purpose of doing research? So my strategy for job search for somebody based on their strengths is going to be different. If somebody is high in ideation, then they need to talk to people and say, hey, I have an idea I want to run by you. Or, they want to follow ideas, or they want to be a thought leader. So knowing your strengths will help you job search. I don't tell people everybody has to job search like me. Not everybody. I'm going to help you with a LinkedIn profile because I think it's important to be findable, but not everybody's going to be posting job search information every day like I do. That's my strategy. What's yours? It depends on your strengths.
Yeah, it really does. Hey, Carrie Harris has checked in. She says it makes total sense. Know your strengths so you know how to job search. And another career coach, Mr. Ken Barr Jr., he says great stuff. And we have Paula Mays checking in from Georgia. So yeah, I think you're mentioning these relationships. That's really the most important part of your job search. It's
It really is.
Yeah, it's not your resume, people. So if you think that's where you're going, no, it's
a resume
not.
is a great leave behind. It really is. I mean, it's not as good of a lead in, but it really is a great leave behind. So what we really hope is that you're going to have a conversation with someone who's in a position to open a door for you, or introduce you to someone else who's in a position to open a door for you. And then they say, oh, by the way, I really like you. I understand who you are. If you've articulated your strengths well, I understand who you are. Hey, by the way, can I have my resume? HR is going to need that.
Right.
Or go ahead and go online and apply. But it's more of the leave behind instead of the lead in.
Wow, what a complete change for most people.
Yeah.
To switch that around, that you are not, your resume needs to be a leave behind, not a lead in. Wow.
I think it's a mindset change. It's really a mindset change. And the other thing I think is really important is that people can talk about their strengths. And, we hear about something like an elevator pitch. I would say a strengths-based introduction. It's really important to just be able to articulate who you are. And I love the strengths language for that. So if I'm helping someone make an introduction to a potential networking contact, or even if they get the opportunity to interview, which people are still interviewing. I had 3 interview coaching sessions this week. So people are interviewing. Things are still happening. Remember, by the way, that you're only looking for one job. So the fact that there aren't 2 million open is okay, because you're just looking for one.
Right.
And a lot of the opportunities are not posted right now because HR people are working from home with kids homeschooling. They don't even necessarily have time to post it. But there are needs in companies. So if you can talk to the people who have the needs, there are opportunities. But knowing how to talk about yourself when you get to that conversation is really important. So I was talking to an accountant the other day who had a strength of learner and restorative. And she really didn't think that she was anything special. And she actually was I think a lot of my clients are kind of undervalued in their careers. They're making a salary that's much lower than they actually have much more potential. So, I was asking her about that. Why have you continued to stay in these lower paying careers? You have an MBA and a CPA, and you have a lot of opportunities. And after we talked about her strengths and talked about how she approached her accounting from a learning standpoint, she liked to learn everything about the books of the company. And then restorative is this problem solving mindset. So she said, I go in and I learn. And she was deliberative. So she took a lot of time. She anticipated the problem. She understood what was going on. She had harmony. So she really cared about why people did things, and she didn't want to upset them by just coming in and making change. And she had a mindset to make change, but in a way that didn't upset people. She was tremendously effective. And so when we talked through her strengths, and I said, how does this show up in your work as an accountant? And she told me story after story after story of being able to go into a company, understand what was happening with their books, understand what was going wrong in their business. Remember, she has an MBA, so she's seeing the big picture. And she could actually help them change their business with accounting and do it in a way that didn't upset people. And I said, you are amazing. Can you please tell stories like this in every interview that you do? And we talked about how do you actually tell that story. And she said to me something I thought was really insightful. She said, I think I figured out why I don't make more money. And I said, why is that? She said, I never thought of myself as unique. So I believe the statistic is with any top 5 strengths, 1 in 278,000 is the statistical likelihood of having any top 5 strengths. And the statistical likelihood of having a certain top 5 in a certain order, it's like, what is it, 1.2 million, I believe?
1 in 33 million, and then
1.3 million.
No, so, 1.33 million.
1.33 million. Okay,
right.
So you are very, very unique. And so then if I think about how many CPAs with an MBA have those strengths, like just this one, right? And she was amazing. So it's just a great example of how understanding who you are and understanding your unique value can help you to pivot. Because if you can understand who you are and what you can do in one industry, you can learn about other industries. You can talk to people about Where do people who can take time to understand the details of an account and help companies pivot for change and do it in a way that doesn't upset anybody? Where do people like that exist in your industry? If you can say that, other people can help you to pivot into another industry. It's really amazing if you know who you are, what you can accomplish.
I think a lot of you are staying in the same industry because it's comfortable, not realizing that you have skills and talents that can transfer and move over into another industry really easily and might actually be fun and exciting to learn something new. So, yeah.
And some of us in this age are forced to it, right?
Right.
You know, just a reminder, some of these industries will be back, right? I mean, oil and gas is low now. It will not forever be low.
Right.
We don't know when that's going to pivot. So, you know, if you need to make a change, there's a period of time where you need to make a change. Something like restaurants, hospitality will probably rebound a little sooner than oil and gas. That might take longer. But it just depends on paying attention to the time you're in. So, of course, we're having this conversation in 2020. Those industries may not be in any kind of trouble by the time you're listening to this podcast or watching this video later.
Right.
It's a matter of understanding what's going on in your industry, in your place, or in an industry of interest, paying attention to that. And, you know, there's a lot of us career coaches out here. We can help you. We do our darndest to stay up to date with those things and try to help you see where you can potentially pivot. So we are definitely here to help. Please know that. If you're a college student, I just want to put in a plug, a college student, your college career centers will help you for free. So please reach out to your college. If you're an alum of a school, many schools have services for alumni. And so that's important. And if you're not accessing services through a college or through an alumni association or a school that serves alumni, there's a lot of us private coaches out there who would absolutely be happy to partner with you. And, you know, if I'm seeing people absolutely like double their salaries, I mean, it's just an amazing to make that kind of investment in yourself and see some new opportunities happen.
Wow, you bring such hope, Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you. I know we've had some people hang on this whole time. So I know that the information that you're sharing is so timely. In fact, real quick, checking in with our audience, Sandy Haskins says that connections are a huge deal when we're talking about referrals. And then Dave Nagata also works with college students every day, and he loves looking at strengths to do job search. And he also says no growth in the comfort zone, or no, it's probably no comfort in the growth zone, isn't it? So yeah, the information here has been fantastic and something definitely needed. So we are very grateful.
You know, it is okay to find a job you like. You know, somebody said, well, it just doesn't feel like work if I like it. I said, you know what? I love my job every day.
Every
I get to
day.
help people find work that they love and be happy at it. And that is a great thing. And it's an awesome thing to be able to make a living doing that. And because I do that, I know how to help you do that. So, I mean, if you're a career coach and you hate your job, you can't help anybody. So, you know, helping you find a job that you like and that comes easier to you is actually a great thing. So if you want to be strategic and you're not in a position where you're getting to do strategy, making a shift to a more strategic role is going to make you happier, and it's actually going to be easier for you and you're going to like it more. So we want to help you make those shifts. So
absolutely. Wow.
Right. Jennifer, just again, some great information. If people want to reach out to you or learn more about what you do, how can they track you down?
Absolutely. Please find me on LinkedIn. My name in LinkedIn is Jennifer Doyle Vancil. My company is Communicating Strengths. I love to connect with people. I'm a communicator with relator, connectedness, woo, and positivity. So I just think it's a privilege to connect with folks. So if you want to connect in LinkedIn, I post information regularly. I try to give to my network. If you have something great and you share it with me, I may repost it to my network. So, and if you're hiring, please tell me. I've got amazing people that I know that would love to come work for you. So please reach out if I can support you in any way. And if you're a coach and you want to learn more about how to use Clifton Strengths in your own work with students or with the clients that you serve, I love to teach people these strategies. I've got some handouts, and training materials too. So LinkedIn is the best way to reach me. Feel free to connect or follow, and we will follow up from there. Thank you so much, Jason and Rhonda, for the privilege of being here today.
Oh, you bet. Our joy. Thank you. We'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
Wow, such great information. And I was thinking too about how, isn't there a phrase that you're not here so that you can work and eventually die at something that you hate, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't remember the actual quote that we're not here to just work and I think it's work and pay taxes and die. Yeah, that's not why we're here, y'all.
Right.
You're here to be to contribute in ways that advance our humanity and yours, and to bring you joy at the same time you're contributing. So those are things that you should look for in a job.
Yeah.
Not just to pay the bills.
Yeah. And really finding your purpose in that. And I know I'm going to mess this one up, but I mean, your work is what you have to do. Your purpose is what you're made to do. Or something along those lines. So
yeah, here we are. We're botching the paraphrases today. So anyway, wow, what a great show. So gosh, this is it. We have had 10 amazing days talking to 10 amazing coaches and having conversations that really matter around life and work and play. And so thank you so much. And we'll be back in July with our next Discover Coaching series.
Yeah, it's been great. Absolutely great information every day. And please go back if you missed any of the shows from the previous 10 days. You can find those on our Facebook page, which is Coach Talk TV, or just go to coachtalk.tv and that'll take you right to the Facebook page. Our YouTube channel will have all of the videos as well. And you can find that by going to youtube.com/C/Coach Talk TV. If you're out driving around or you're working around the house and you just need something to listen to, you can find the audio podcast at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Overcast, and all of your favorite podcast outlets.
It almost sounds like we should be famous, Jason.
Well, we are in our own minds.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate you, appreciate your support, and we will see you the next time.
All right. Have a great weekend. And as Rhonda said, we'll see you on the next episodes of Coach Talk TV.
There you go.